Hey guys, and welcome back for another content of the Ragnarok. In this episode where I go over all the new classes, which are the 2-to-job class and their various builds, discussing each one individually to provide more in-depth guide and explanation. For this series, I will discuss the most popular and probably the meta class of this moment, the Sage. Sage also has two builds, which are the Caster and the Auto Bolter. In our current meta, Auto Bolters are not really that sufficient. So for now, it is best to be a caster type as you can throw your spells while walking, which is very OP in my opinion. And before we proceed, we know that grinding is essential for faster leveling and farming. So running the game on a cloud server around the clock can give you an advantage. If you are interested in a cloud phone that I've been using recently for this game, here's a word from our sponsor. Does your phone overheating when grinding? Or do you have a lot of accounts to grind at the same time on different games? I have good news for you. UG Phone is an Android cloud phone that helps you AFK grind non-stop even when you close the application. This will let you save battery for your phone and your game will still run even when you have no internet access when you're outside. Also, UG Phone can open multiple instances that is applicable to other games like Ragnarok X, Mir 4, Night Crows, Ragnarok 20 Heroes, and many more games that have an immense AFK grinding. Just use my code 4F8CAA. Or you can just click the link on the description below to get 488 diamonds so you can try the UG Phone for yourself. Download the UG Phone now for Android, iOS, or even on the Windows PC. Thanks for listening and let's get back to the video. Now let's get started. First, we discuss the stat allocation. The main stat will be your intelligence, as this will increase your magic attack that is very essential. Dexterity to reduce the casting time of your spell, and luck to add more critical hits. For the stats allocation, your dexterity should be a total of 105 or 1250 cast speed, so your elemental bolts will have no casting time. It is also preferable to use the staff to have the plus 200 weapon cast speed rather than the book that has no cast speed into it. Luck will be around 30 plus and the rest will be on the end. Now let's take a look at the skills. If you're still a newbie Sage and is an F2P, then I really suggest continuing on using the Soul Strike because your elemental bolts will not be as strong as Soul Strike at this point. But then again, as you gain more progression, you will start using bolts more often for more damage. So max the Lightning Bolt, Fire Bolt, and then the Cold Bolt. Now you already have consumed 40 skill points as of this moment, but to have access to second job skill, you only need 39. On the second job skill, get the free cast level 1. You don't need to level this up further because you have no casting time already. And the way this works now is you can walk while throwing those spells. And it also reduces the delay of your cast animation, which is, I might say, a feature. But this isn't how it works in the classics, so it's just too OP in my opinion. So yeah, this skill is a must-have. And before you proceed with other second job skill, I recommend you go back to the first job skill and then get the level 1 Fireball and then level 1 Firewall. Firewall will really help you a lot with your AoE problem. It may not be as good as wizards, but it's better than nothing. Because I've heard that sages are struggling with clearing multiple targets in an area. I also want to suggest the Thunderstorm for another AoE option. I really tested this, it's also okay. But I want to use these skill points for the second job. So for now, just use the Firewall for added AoE fire damage. Then go back to second job, get level 1 Book of Evolution so you can max out Dragonology. This will give you plus 10 int and plus 10% more damage on dragon monsters. Then we don't need the other skills below. It just sucks and it's not useful in my opinion. Magic Rod has more casting time than the duration. Spell Break is really hard to use in this shitty game. But the spell may be useful in the endgame, but still just ignore this tree. It's just a waste of skill points. And then proceed to the Endo weapons. The only skill that I will max is the Fire Endowment to enchant your weapon with Fire Element and grants you physical and magic attack. Fire Element is one of the strongest element here in the game. And from here, max out the Volcano for added fire attribute damage and also grants your team additional damage and magic attack, so it's really a great domain buff. Then you move on below to get and max out the Land Protector. This skill is useful especially in PvP or War of Imperium where there are traps and AoE skills. This skill will destroy all traps in the area and prevent characters from casting AoE spells like Storm Gust in the area, even your teammates, so use this skill wisely. Just to add up, you need to have the Lave All My card for you to get a chance of obtaining Bag of Ore. Bag of Ores will give you a random ores that you will use for weapon endowment. But for the domain skill, you will need the gemstones, which are only accessible through the market and can be bought through diamonds. Only blacksmith class can get these ores because of this passive skill, finding ore. And I also assume that they can also get gemstones as well, which really sucks. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And then there will be 2 remaining skill points, so it's up to you. You can get the Thunderstorm or else. For the gears is the Sulut Flame set. You can farm this through daily dungeons. Your weapon should be the staff to get the plus 200 weapon cast speed, and you can deal 100% damage in all sizes of monsters. Book will be for the bolter build, which I will make for another video. But then there are craftable gears that are also better to use, like the Mighty Staff, where if you refine it to plus 9 you can learn the skill Magic Blast that deals small AoE damage, which is a great addition for clearing multiple targets. And you can swap it to Element Origin that increases your elemental bolts by 10%. But do take note that when you are using a book, you will lose the 200 cast speed which the staff gives, so you might be needing to increase your dex more to achieve the 1250 cast speed. Also, book is weaker on large monsters with only 50% damage, so you might need the Drake card first before deciding to use a book. And then your endgame cloak will be the Bloody Cloak plus the Potential Ring, which gives you plus 15 crit and crit damage plus 5%. And for the other accessory is the Element Truth statue, for which you will refine it to plus 15. It will significantly boost your water, earth, fire, and wind damage by 10%. Now let's move on with the cards. In the headgear, insert at least 1 cramp card and rank this up as high as you can. They are giving this for free, so use it to gain more zennies. Next is slot 2 pieces of Elder Willows in each headgear. This will give you more intelligence stats, and it is a future-proof card which I will talk about in another video. Then for the remaining slot headgears, if you already unlock those sockets, then I recommend these cards. Leib Olmai, as I already discussed earlier. Marduk is good for PvP to have silence resistance and adds another magic attack plus 8. And if you are really lucky with S plus cards, then Pharaoh and Kel D card will be the best slot. For the armor, the cheapest card to slot will be the Pouring card for Luckstat. But Baby Desert Wolf is much better in my opinion for more intelligence. Elemental cards like Swordfish, Dokebi, Sandman, Bathory, Arjope, Pasana, Angeling, and Ghostring will be beneficial in the future. For the cloak, it is best to have 2 pieces Baphomet Jr. because of the crit it gives. And this one is also a future-proof card. Baxogen plus Green Maiden will play a big role in the endgame as many players will be using a basic attack. Deviling will be situational because you might take more damage if you are facing an opponent that deals neutral damage like Asura Strike. But in my opinion, there are more players that will use elemental weapons and skill damage, so it's really situational and might be double-edged for you because on the bright side, you can gain plus 10% bonus damage if you slot this card. For footgear, Igira and Merman will be beneficial in grinding because of the SP potion recovery, but then Amute will be better for PvP. S plus cards that are best slot are the Amonra for plus 1 stat and has a chance to cast Kyrie Ellison buff which grants them plus 15% total damage reduction for 12 seconds. Moonlight Flower for more move speed and crit. And the Dark Lord which will give you a chance to cast Meteor Storm when receiving physical damage. For the accessories are the cards that provides dex like the Wormtail and Zerom. For the remaining accessory sockets will be the Owl Baron, Green Maiden, or Stormy Knight. For weapon, Lunatic is still the best for early game. Then you might transition to racial cards like the Scorpion, Hydra, Strauf, and many more for late game. Now if you are lazy on switching cards, then better just get crit damage cards like the Goblin Archer, Goblin Steam Rider, Freezer, Rogue, Kobold Archer, or Rotor Zyro. For the offhand, just equip the Ogre Tooth for medium-sized damage reduction. This includes players, and if you are lucky with cards, then the Big Egg Ring card will be for another slot. For the wardrobe, it is pretty straightforward, just get in stats. For the upper is the Polar Bear Cap, middle is Blush, then mouth is Baby Pacifier. For the runes, on the attack statue, insert magic attack, HP, crit damage, and SP runes or hit rate. On the defense statue, insert HP, PDef, MDef, crit res, and ignore crit runes. Better start with the blue runes and just upgrade each to level 2 first, and then slowly level it up to 5 for more additional stats and combat power. For the shadow gears, the pendant and earring has a fixed affix pool, but the armor and shield has random. So on the armor, try to get the affix that has magic attack and max HP. And for the shield, try to get the critical hit and magic attack affixes. Now for the gear affixes, I already tackled this on my recent video where you will just put better rarity affixes for more combat power, and you will just replace this later on. But ideally, it is much preferable to have the best affix as possible. For the upper, middle, and lower, the best affixes are the critical hit and critical damage. And you might also want to get the fire, water, and wind damage increase. For the armor, cloak, shoes, and offhand, the best affixes are the crit res, crit damage reduction, and HP. P-def, M-def, and crowd control resistance are optional. For the accessories and weapon, aim for the critical hit, critical damage, magic attack, and any of the water, fire, and wind damage increase. And lastly is the artifacts. I won't discuss the forge because it's a linear investment just like the ancient gears, so I'll just go straight ahead to the divine seal. All these divine seals have some random affixes you can get. It includes attack and defensive stats, so it will have a lower chance to get your desired affix. If you can, just try to get or reroll for the critical hit, critical damage, max HP, M attack, crit res, crit damage reduction, and then P-def and M-def for the least option. I won't also include the pet because it doesn't affect the builds for each class, and you can just choose whoever you want to deploy. So there you have it. I hope you find this video helpful. And if you do, please leave a like. Also subscribe to support my channel. As always, thank you for watching, stay safe, and have an awesome day. Lights out.